What is going on, everybody? Welcome into the Monday morning edition of the PrizePicks Prop Show here at FTNFantasy.com. My name is Zach Graham, aka Kawaisenberg DFS, ready to get into tonight's three-game slate of first-round playoff action in the NBA. Great first weekend of game ones. A couple of those blowouts yesterday. Obviously, we want to see those be a little bit more competitive, but teams kind of feeling each other out here. A couple injury situations to continue to monitor, especially tonight. Now we've got Tyrese Maxey questionable with an illness. That's going to come into play in a big way here on today's stream. And before we get to the tool and some of the picks, I do want to remind you all of a few things first. Of course, if you haven't signed up yet at PrizePicks, you can do so using the promo code FTN. That will get you a 100% deposit match bonus up to $100. And of course, if you go over to a place like Underdog Fantasy, you can build similar, if not the exact same plays we talk about here on the stream. You can scan the QR code that's on the screen right now, or just head over to Underdog Fantasy, sign up using that same promo code FTN. That'll get you another 100% deposit match bonus up to $100. And that promo code FTN, if you download the Sleeper app, will get you another deposit match bonus, but up to $500 over at Sleeper. Again, the promo code for all three of those sites is FTN. So take advantage of those offers, those opportunities to build your bankroll, get that free cash to toss around here with some of the picks, because as you can see, still holding strong right around that 63% mark as a group between myself and Alex and Meanie and Kenneth and all of the other experts here at FTN Fantasy. Jumping in, of course, today to the NBA side of things and these three games, Magic and Cavs. That is Cavs favored by 5.5 at the moment, 203 implied total. Knicks Sixers, of course, these are all game twos. Knicks 6-point home favorites here, 204.5 implied total. And then the Nuggets Lakers in the nightcap. Nuggets 7.5-point home favorites. So you've seen the spreads open up a little bit in those two Eastern Conference series compared to what we saw in game one. And then you've got the 223.5 implied total out there in Denver. So from a pace standpoint, that late night hammer is where you want to be living, maybe more from a DFS standpoint. Of course, NBA Live today, 5 p.m. Eastern here at FTNFantasy.com. Let's start in New York, because I mentioned that Maxey news, right? Questionable missed shoot around with an illness. And I think that 6-point spread may be a little indicative of that being a true questionable, a real worry here tonight. So when I take a look at the PrizePicks prop tool this morning, of course, with that Q tag, Tyrese Maxey is still projected to be in here in terms of the FTN data model. But even with Maxey projected in, Kyle Lowry assists, which earlier this morning, about an hour ago when this news came across, was set at 2.5. And the tool absolutely loves a 2.5 prop, or a more than selection on Lowry's prop of 2.5. But that got pulled, as it should have, when that Maxey news came across. But what PrizePicks has done is they've reposted a Lowry demon prop for his assist, and that is set at 3.5. And so I'm looking at the FTN data model here, which has Kyle Lowry right at 4 assists here tonight in the projections. I think that demon prop certainly comes off the board if and when Tyrese Maxey is ruled out with this illness here tonight. So I think that's just one to consider. I'm not going crazy over this. Like, I'm not putting this Lowry demon into all of my entries tonight. But if you're looking for that little bit of a payout boost, right? I think that is my favorite one on the board right now, working alongside in tandem with the tool here, because again, if Maxey is forced to miss, we've seen 23 games out of Lowry with Philly this season after signing post-trade deadline, right? Got bought out by the Hornets. In those 23 games, Lowry has exceeded 3.5 assists in 14 of them. Now, again, Joel Embiid was out for the majority of that time to close out the regular season after Kyle Lowry signed on. And of course, Tyrese Maxey also, I don't think, made it through that entire period unscathed. So you got to approach that type of stat and that type of game log watching with a grain of salt. But that, combined with the fact that the data model still likes a slightly more than selection here on the 3.5 assist prop, again, I just wanted to bring that to our attention here. And again, like I reminded you all last Friday, as we go here through some of these picks, don't hesitate to leave a comment here in the YouTube chat, because certainly more like absolutely want to discuss some props that any of you have your eye on here as we make our way, around lunchtime on the East Coast here, headed into the 3-game slate tonight. Let's stick with the same game though, and the same team, because if we're looking in the model here, the FTN data model is a big fan of. We'll slot in the Kyle Lowry here just for safekeeping, and then Kelly Oubre, field goal attempts prop set at 10.5 right now, and I am going to lock that one in to my entry this morning. Kelly Oubre played 30 or more minutes 31 times this season. In those 31 games, he exceeded 10.5 attempted field goals in 30 of them. 30 out of 31. Now, again, just like we just talked about with Kyle Lowry, right? Joel Embiid was out for an extended period of time, and that might be an understatement with that knee issue. And, of course, there have been those maxi absences. A couple other guys along the way. Obviously, D'Anthony Melton has been out for a long period of time now as well. But this line is still too low, whether it's just coming out of my noggin, your game log watching, or you're looking at the FTN data model, which has Kelly Oubre for over 12 field goal attempts here tonight in game 2. And again, similar to that Lowry prop, I think we see this Oubre field goal attempts rather will climb when it gets reposted, because if and when we get Maxey ruled out here with that illness, again, all those Philly props are coming down. They're getting ratcheted up. So I feel a little bit safer, certainly, taking Kelly Oubre's more than 10.5 field goals attempted compared to that Lowry Demon. But again, 2 picks from this game. I guess we can actually stay here and go to the other side of this game here for New York, and we can stay with these field goals attempted props, because Josh Hart set at 11 flat this morning. So 11 field goal attempts here for Josh Hart. The model likes a less than selection here, and I think that makes some sense to me. Over his last 18 games, including game 1 on Saturday, Josh Hart played 35 plus minutes in all but 3 of those 18 games. One of those 3 games he left due to injury. The other 2 lost time to the blowout, to garbage time rather, in blowout wins. So he's been playing these massive minutes for a while now. It goes back much further than my cherry-picked 18 game sample there. But over those last 18 games, he shot more than 11 times in just 5 of those 18 games. One of them was that blowout win over Boston late in the regular season, where Josh Hart was just shy of 32 minutes played in that one. So even in game 1, right, where if you had eyes on that game, part of the Philadelphia game plan here from Coach Nurse was daring Josh Hart, who was still kind of dealing with a little bit of a wrist issue coming in, daring him to shoot. And he played 42 minutes, and he shot just 12 times. So again, I don't think this is something that, or I should say, I think Tibbs is maybe going to scheme to where we're not relying on Josh Hart to bail us out at the end of the game and to get that win across the finish line here in game 2. So I will agree with the model here and slot in a less than selection on Josh Hart's field goals attempted, again, set at 11. FTN data model has him at 9.25. So again, like I do here pretty much daily on the PrizePicks prop show when I'm hosting here, I do like to talk about a couple of those fantasy score props. That's kind of my bread and butter here on PrizePicks. And again, if you're on PrizePicks tonight, and I saw on Underdog Fantasy this morning, a couple free squares up there. If you haven't used the Jokic free square on PrizePicks, certainly use that today. This is game 2 is when that is going off, and a couple multi-sport offerings over there on Underdog Fantasy as well in terms of those freebies. But looking at the fantasy score props board here, and this will dissect in even greater detail in the Pick'em Games channel of the FTN Fantasy Discord throughout the afternoon here, because it's not just the props, or the picks rather, that we talk about on this stream daily. Experts going back and forth with our subscribers, all of you in that channel throughout the day, and continuing to see the green screens roll out. It's partially because we have that good back and forth in the Discord. So we'll talk more about Orlando and Cleveland in the channel. A couple of props I like in that one, but still sticking in this game. One interesting thing we saw in game 1 for Knicks Sixers was the front court rotation from New York. And of course, Joel Embiid had another scare there, comes back out of the locker room in the third quarter, guts it out. He's listed questionable coming into tonight. I think we all should expect him to play at this point. But from those centers on the Knicks side, you saw Isaiah Hartenstein continue to start. I think he does grab another start here tonight. But he played his first stint in the first and third quarters, to start each half. He got a little bit of time at the end of the second quarter. Outside of that, it was all Mitchell Robinson. Robinson exceeds 30 minutes in game one. And again, it's a tough matchup against Joel Embiid. If you go back through the game logs, right? And again, if you're talking about PrizePicks fantasy score, it's just FanDuel scoring for my DFS players tuned in here. So you go back through those game logs, Mitch Rob against Joel Embiid. It's not pretty. But when his PrizePicks fantasy score line is set at 22 on PrizePicks here, and we have the potential for 30 minutes out of Mitchell Robinson, I do like the look of that prop. So Mitch Rob, more than 22 fantasy scores, one that I have my eye on, but I don't like it as much as I do when we look at D'Angelo Russell from that nightcap. And of course, there's a couple other guys that I've got my eye on there. Obviously, Jamal Murray has done fantastic against this Lakers team over the last 5 playoff games between the two. Of course, they met in the Western Conference Finals last year, sweep by the Nuggets, but one of the closest sweeps I think that I have seen in recent memory here in the NBA playoffs. But again, I want to focus here on D'Angelo Russell to close out Monday's stream. It's set at 29.5 PrizePicks fantasy score, and he's been awful from the field against the Nuggets over those 5 playoff games dating back to last year's conference finals in the West. He's just 3 of 24 from 3 over that span. And again, we were singing the praises of D'Lo coming into this postseason because of how good he's been for this Lakers team this year. Clearly, he really struggles against Denver and against Kentavious Caldwell-Pope in this individual matchup. But what is different for me this year, and in game one you saw it, compared to last year and the sweep at the hands of this Nuggets team, is the confidence, the trust, and just the flat-out need that the Lakers have for D'Angelo Russell to contribute here to keep up against a team like the Nuggets. And he still got us 26.1 PrizePicks fantasy score in the first game of the series, shooting just 6 of 20 from the floor. He went 1 of 9 from 3. And the key for me here is 41 minutes out of D'Lo in game one. I'm a couple tabs removed here, I think, from being on his game logs from last year. So if I can just here we go. From last season, D'Angelo Russell minutes in that conference finals, 26, 32, 20, and 15. Now, all of a sudden in game one, again, coming off of the season that he just had, especially after the All-Star break, where he was a big part of the Lakers being top 3 in three-point percentage after the All-Star break. And of course, their record near the top of the league in that sample size. So the reliance on D'Angelo Russell and his importance to this rotation and this team's success offensively, he's got more of a burden on him this year, and that's playing out in the minutes. So I think that 29.5 fantasy score prop that is set on PrizePicks right now is a few points too low. And again, a peek behind the curtain. We don't have the fantasy score props integrated into the PrizePicks tool quite yet, but you can go look at the FTN model and what it's spitting out in terms of fantasy points, and it's right around 32 PrizePicks fantasy score for Russell here this morning. So I love a more than selection on D'Lo tonight, where we've got 40+ minute upside. He can take 20 shots and again contribute across the box score as well. So that's the last one I had to talk about here this morning. Turning to the chat, I don't think we have a ton of comments in here right now, but I do see my buddy Alex Blickel, who again coming off another good weekend of picks here. So salute to you, sir, saying speaking my language with this correlation boost, and you can see it in the tool. Alex drawing attention to that boost where when we have those 3 props in there, Lowry and Oubre and Hart, the PrizePicks prop tool here, you've got that part of the tool that gives you the correlation bonus, 1.4%, plus 1.4%, I should say, here in the tool. So again, that's just another benefit of being a member here at FTN Fantasy and being able to use all of our tools in conjunction with the PrizePicks prop tool to build winning slips. And that's what we will continue to strive for here in the Pick'em Games channel. of the FTN Fantasy Discord. And that'll do it for me here today. I'm back tomorrow. I'm going to go triple header this week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Then you will get the GOAT, Alex Blickel, Thursday through Saturday. We keep it rolling here. I will see the rest of you in the Pick'em Games channel of the FTN Fantasy Discord leading up to lock of this slate. And of course, I already saw Chris Meany posting some NHL picks in there. I know Alex is going to have some MLB selections for us later on today as well. So appreciate you tuning in, whether you caught me live or on the replay. And we'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place for another edition of the PrizePicks Prop Show here at FTNFantasy.com. Good luck tonight, everybody.